Today was a really good day. Obviously, I'm quoting someone when I say that. Today was a really good day. We played a team that I have a lot of respect for, and a head coach that I have a lot of respect for. And I think Richmond's a very good basketball team that plays their own unique style. And I can't be any happier for the success that we've had. Our players played a very good basketball game on both ends of the floor, and their knowledge of the scout and how we wanted to play and how we wanted to execute, this might have been our most complete game this year. It goes without saying that when you score 40 points in the paint and you get 27 from your bench and you have 23 assists for 33 baskets, you're going to have a lot of success, and we had that today, and we had a lot of very good individual performances. And we really need to highlight the fact that Meg McConnell had 18 rebounds that put her over the 500 rebound mark for her career, which is crazy numbers. And she finished with a career high 23 points, and also she threw in 8 assists while she was at it. I mean, just an incredible day for Meg. And Amaya Hamilton wasn't far behind with 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists herself. A real good day.
Was that the sneakiest triple-double for Amaya there? I mean, it almost didn't even seem like it was there, and honestly, the biggest compliment might even be that she was stronger as the game went on, too.
I would agree with that 100%. Amaya was stronger as the game went on. She figured out where her shots were coming from. She figured out that, with a good, strong foot fake jab going right, she had the left lane always open and available to her. She fell short of the triple-double by a couple rebounds and by 2 assists. But let's also remember she also had a couple blocks, and she also had 3 steals. That might have been the most complete game that Amaya has played in a Duquesne uniform. Outstanding today.
You've mentioned consistently, you tell the players about reaching the post, finding a post touch. How important was that, especially in that second quarter, getting PJ going, whether it was a basket, drawing fouls, opening up other bodies as well?
I was really disappointed in how we, not just Yanni, but also Precious, how we posted in the first quarter was not what we wanted. We want to sweep the floor with our hands so that it creates us being low with our butt down and our shoulders not over our knees. That way we're anchored into the post, and we didn't do that in the first quarter. Instead, we were being pushed off the block, pushed off our mark too easily. We challenged them in the second quarter, and they became better and better at it. And Precious, obviously, with 8 for 11 from the field with 17 points, was simply outstanding with her post-ups today and being really strong and being really, really physical. And we played her a lot more minutes for that reason. But Yanni, even when Yanni was in, she was still 2 for 3 from the field. And I feel like if Precious wouldn't have had the day that she had, Yanni would have had that day.
When they call the timeout in the third quarter, you go on that 8-0 run. Just what was it that maybe allowed them to find those open corner looks? Was that something you just challenged them and it just happened to go in? What did you see on their end that allowed them to maybe break out a little bit?
Well, blame the head coach for Duquesne for not calling a timeout in the third quarter and allowing Richmond to score 32 points, because it started out 8-0, and I did a poor job of not calling timeout to stem that tide, and so blame me for that. But the initial run of 8-0 that we came out of the halftime with was us just being in transition, getting a defensive stop, and when we go in transition and the ball hums, in other words, it's passed twice, advance the ball as quickly as you can, pass, and then you're going to get a wide open shot. And that's what we did with that. And then Aaron from Richmond, the head coach, made a really strategic, smart timeout, and they came out and they were able to get paint to kick threes. And you can't, Richmond's going to make a lot of threes, and you have to be able to withstand them making threes. Today they made 12, and that's 36 points. We knew they were going to make threes, but the key was we couldn't let them score a lot of twos, and we were able to do that today.
You mentioned getting some stops and getting in transition during that 8-0 run to start the second half. And I think we mentioned this a couple times during the course of the game, just the value of getting the most out of possessions. It felt like in the second half, Your group did a lot better as far as getting the most out of possessions, not rushing shots, working the ball around well, and just being patient. Could you speak to just how well they were able to execute in the second half and getting more out of assists to set up buckets that way?
Very good point. I want to say that, obviously it's the players that have to execute all of those actions. But Vanessa Abel, our offensive coordinator, did a masterful job of running sets that created advantage for us. Her eye for detail and for the mismatch is outstanding, and today might have been her best job as a coordinator. I thought she was just fantastic. With that being said, then the players have to go out and execute that, and they did that. They listened exceptionally well. That's the one thing about our team. Our kids, if we say go hit your head on the wall 10 times, they'll go do it 10 times. And what we've challenged them to do a little bit more of, instead of just being robots, is to understand that basketball is a little bit like jazz. That you have to be able to improvise, and you have to be able to create for yourself a little bit. And so that improvising happened a little bit tonight, but it happened under control, and it happened within the context and the flow of the offense. And again, this was a very good win today, and that's one of the reasons why. Because we had flow, we improvised a little bit, but we also stuck to what we knew would be successful.
You talked about Precious in the post game earlier. I remember a few weeks back you talked about the work Precious does away from the ball, the screens that she sets, the way she's able to face up defensively. It seemed like there were so many plays she made in this game that didn't involve the ball. They didn't involve scoring and rebounding, where she's setting screens, and one of those screens set up Amaya to find Nail for that 3 in the fourth quarter. What does that say about the work she continues to do, where she's just being physical and giving up her body like that for her teammates?
We challenged our posts to set better screens. And better screens are when you have physical contact with your chest directly in the middle of the defender's shoulder. And today, I think Precious had 3 or 4 bone-crushing type screens. One was called for an offensive foul. An illegal screen. That's okay. I'll take an illegal screen call every game. I'll take 2 every game. Because if we get those 2 illegal screens called on us, we've probably gotten away with 6 or 7 other ones that were really good and really strong screens. And Precious did that. She had the one there late in the fourth quarter in the open floor where the kid just kind of melted. And, I had to tell her, look, we don't want to have an illegal screen call there. We want us to be able to run the clock down, just run beside the kid on that one. And that's a little bit of a lesson learned, but her screens have been outstanding. Yanni is the same way. Our post players have done a really good job of screening, especially in the last month.
You talked about some of the calls in that game. There were some moments where things didn't seem to be going your way, but at the same time, after I think it was a media timeout, your team came back out, and it was almost like nothing happened. They just responded to it. Nothing seemed to bother them from that point. How important is it when you have a group that's been through some of these situations where things may not be going their way, but it's kind of a so what, now what approach, and they still manage to work their way through that?
Sometimes you're just trying to work for a call. And so when we would run pick and roll action and our posts would roll, they always had a weak side defender there to disrupt our path to the basket. The one McConnell turnover where Yanni was going to roll to the basket, literally Yanni is disrupted in her path, and it was just a turnover where no one touched the ball. And the referees knew that I knew it, and I made them very aware of it. And so, we told our guys, when you roll, you have to roll really hard. If they want to put someone in there to body block you, they can't disrupt your path, so run them over and it becomes a foul. But if you don't do that, it's advantage Richmond, because they're not going to call it. They're not going to call it. You got to run the kid over. And that's what we started to do, and we did a much better job of it. I thought the officiating was really, really good, but I'm going to work them for every call that we can possibly get in the game. And I thought they officiated a good game. And sure, there's a couple calls where you don't agree, but overall I thought they were really good.
I heard you mention previously how you feel like you had 6 starters when you bring Yanni into the equation. Lauren Wasselson gets another start today. She gives 11 points in, I believe, 24 minutes, and had a couple rebounds too. What kind of effort have you seen from her? Because it seems like her minutes have continued to increase throughout the course of the season. She gets the start today. You only rotate with 7 players, and Yanni and Lauren being the additional 2 outside the 5 that you normally talk about. But the effort that she continues to give, and I talked about this earlier also, she continues to have that intensity. Toward the end of the game, she cracked one of the few smiles I see her crack on the floor. But what does that say to how she continues to work and help this team continue to win games?
Lauren has had a long road back from a knee injury that then was complicated with some back issues. And so she's really not been healthy until about a month ago. And then the ball wasn't going in the basket for her. And that's really important for her and her psyche so that she feels like she's helping the team. And what we had to do is redirect that type of energy with her to have her understand that if you defend and rebound, the shots will come at some point. I'm not worried about that, but you have to defend and rebound for you to gain that confidence back. And if you're going to play, and I'm going to put you on the floor, when you're shooting it poorly, you have to defend and rebound. And she's done that. She's not perfect. You know, like today she went over on a screen where she should have gone under. But no one plays a perfect game. But she's so dialed into what the scout is and what we're asking her to do. She works incredibly hard behind the scenes to be the best team player that you can be. You know, we started her because we wanted to have a little bit of pop off the bench, and Nay has really given us that pop off the bench with 4 for 5 today. From the field, 2 for 3 from the 3-point line with 10 points. I thought Nay today played one of her better basketball games. She didn't score all the points, but she played under control and she made really good decisions with the ball and finished at the rim too. And so, you know, we play 7. There's not a whole lot of other teams out there that are successful that play more than 8. And, you know, you look at most teams, they're playing 7, 8 guys, and that's it, especially at this time of the year. I'd like to go a little bit deeper, but for that to happen, I've got to get a little bit more confidence in some, and I'm hoping that we can do that, because when you get to the tournament, your guys who are 8, 9, and 10 have to fill quality minutes, and they have to fill important minutes. And so it's our job to continue to work with them as we have all year to be ready to go for when the time comes and their number is called.
You had a Richmond team coming in, a lot of confidence, 3 straight, they'd won them all by double digits, and it seemed like every time they turned around, you'd get a lead, they'd come roaring back, they'd get a lead, you'd have to respond. To get a win like this, the way it had to come, because this was a really great matchup on paper, and they always talk about how styles make fights, but to win a game like this and the way you won it, when you're right up against the conference tournament coming up here in a couple of weeks, what does that do for your team's confidence, knowing that, hey, we faced a battle like this and we came out on the other side?
You know, when you have that type of back and forth and you don't necessarily shoot the ball well for stretches, relying on your defense, relying on one player to make a play, relying on your coaches with knowing what the scout is, and if you execute it correctly, it's going to give you a really good chance to win. Those are all really important things. You know, today is our 13th home win, and that ties the school record. And, you know, on Wednesday, we're going to get a shot at trying to break a record. And I've enjoyed this group tremendously. And I know I say that a lot of times, but if you watch this game, you'll see me smiling probably more than you'll ever see me smile at any time in my career. The joy that Meg McConnell and the others bring, it's so much fun to coach this group. And to be at 13 wins, we want to get that 14th on Wednesday. We're going to do everything we can. And we do feel really good about where we are right now, because our health has also returned a little bit, where our bodies are recovering a little bit better. And this week with midterms coming up and being at home against Loyola and then having to go to Joe's, we have to manage those things correctly. And then we go to the conference tournament. But we're literally taking everything one day at a time, and we've got to be dialed in and focused for Loyola starting on Monday morning.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you for supporting women's basketball. Great crowd today. Hope to see you on Wednesday.